Winter transforms the American West into something rare and unforgettable. In Grand Teton and Yellowstone National Parks, snow softens the rugged peaks. Steam rises from hidden geysers, and wildlife moves quietly through a white, silent world. This is a season of intense silence and awe-inspiring isolation. With summer crowds a distant memory, our small group moves through the landscape like ghosts, often feeling as though we've inherited this awe-inspiring wilderness entirely for ourselves. Our journey starts in Jackson Hole, where the jagged skyline of the Teton Range stands silent and snow-laden. As dawn breaks, pastel light brushes the peaks, and we watch the mountains come alive, illuminated from behind us, glowing in front of us. Below these dramatic peaks lies a vital winter sanctuary, a broad valley that draws wildlife down from the high country in a timeless migration for survival. Moose melt into the willows along frozen waterways. Bighorn sheep balance effortlessly on rimrock glazed with frost. And across the sweeping white of the National Elk Refuge, thousands of elk gather in one of North America's great winter spectacles. On day 2, we push north into a winter wonderland, tracing the frozen, glassy expanse of Jackson Lake's eastern shore. As if on cue, the heavy curtain of clouds parts to reveal the crown jewel of the northern range, Mount Moran. Named for the legendary landscape artist Thomas Moran, this monolithic giant commands the horizon. Towering at nearly 13,000 feet, its sheer granite face vertical drops a staggering 6,000 feet directly into the icy depths of the lake. A scene so perfectly composed, it looks like one of Moran's own oil paintings come to life. Leaving our vehicles behind at Flag Ranch, we board specialized snow coaches to breach the park's snow-locked southern entrance. As we climb toward the upper geyser basin, we dance across the spine of the continent, crossing the Continental Divide 3 separate times before descending into the steaming, surreal heart of the park at Old Faithful and the Old Faithful Snow Lodge. Winter transforms the area around Old Faithful into something almost otherworldly. Snow softens the geothermal landscape. Columns of steam rise continuously from the geyser basin, catching the low winter light and drifting across the frozen ground like ghostly curtains. The air smells faintly of sulfur, and every sound feels muted, absorbed by snow and steam. In winter, the crowds are gone, and the spectacle feels intimate, elemental, and timeless. We awoke the next morning on day 3 to gray skies bitter cold, and blowing snow. A handful of our group was hardy enough to venture out through a near blizzard for a second Old Faithful eruption. Our group of 5 were the only witnesses to this spectacular event. The drive to Canyon was a masterclass in winter survival. It was often difficult to discern the edges of the snow-covered road. After a brief stop at the Fountain Paint Pots just south of Madison, we moved on toward Canyon and the falls of the Yellowstone. At one point, we observed a herd of bison descending a distant hillside, approaching the road, eventually surrounding us in a living river of prehistoric giants that flowed past our snow coach windows as the herd crossed the road, seemingly oblivious to our presence. To see a ton of muscle and bone move so effortlessly through the snow is humbling. It's a reminder that we are just visitors, and these animals are the true masters of this domain. Arriving at the falls of the Yellowstone River in February feels like stepping into another world. The thunder of water plunging into the canyon is softened beneath the cathedral-sized cones of ice, their shadows stretching across the snow. Frost clings to the orange rhyolite cliffs, muting their usual fire into something more ethereal. With no footprints in sight and no sound but our own breath, having the most iconic view in the American West entirely to ourselves was a moment of profound, hushed wonder. Ultimately, we moved on to Mammoth, where we were greeted by more bison racing across the snow below our hotel room window before we bedded down for the night. Day 4 concentrated on the wildlife of the Lamar Valley. The northern range of Yellowstone unfolds in a vast expanse of windswept valleys, carved by the relentless flow of the Yellowstone and Lamar rivers. In the depths of winter, these golden grasslands become a high-stakes sanctuary for bison and elk, drawn to the lower elevations in a desperate search for forage. This concentration of prey transforms the landscape into a predator's playground, stalked by wolves, mountain lions, coyotes, and foxes. It is quite literally the American Serengeti, home to one of the most prolific gatherings of free-roaming wildlife on the planet. Our primary mission was to find the park's most elusive ghost, the wolf. Once erased from the landscape in the early 1900s, these apex predators made a triumphant return in 1995 with the reintroduction of 41 Canadian wolves. Today, roughly 100 roam the 3,500 square miles of the park's wilderness. Our patience was rewarded when we caught sight of several members of the Junction Butte Pack, black figures silhouetted against the snow a half-mile away. For the better part of an hour, we watched them feed on and defend an elk carcass, a grim spectacle of survival as they fended off a persistent gallery of ravens and coyotes. We capped the day in Silvergate, Montana, at the home of Dan Hartman, a legendary eye behind the lens of National Geographic and the BBC. Dan has spent decades documenting the park's heartbeat. Sharing a space with a man who has lived these stories was the perfect climax to a day spent in the wild. On day 5, our last day in the park, we hiked the terraces of Mammoth Hot Springs. We began at the upper terraces, winding our way down a mile-long descent through a landscape of steaming vents and chalk-white ledges. Because of the previous night's snowfall, the entire area was transformed into a magical, monochromatic dreamscape. The stark white of the mineral deposits blending perfectly with the fresh powder, making colorful pools pop like jewels against the steam. Yellowstone in the winter isn't just a trip. It's a shift in perspective. Fire, ice, and absolute silence. There is truly nowhere else on Earth like this. From the frost-covered bison to the ghost trees of the upper geyser basins, winter is when Yellowstone reveals its truest self. It's raw, it's rugged, and it's beautiful beyond words. Our natural habitat guides, Jen and Casey, and our 10 traveling companions made the trip truly memorable. What an adventure!